Welcome to Human Resources for the People. It's a human capital revolution. If you like what you heard today, please like, share, and subscribe for more content about people-centered HR. Welcome back to Human Resources for the People. Today we're going to be answering our Ask HR questions. It's a subreddit on Reddit focused at asking HR professionals questions about their work, and it's kind of interesting. Sometimes there's some good perspectives on there. I've been banned from Reddit a couple times at this point, and I can't respond. So I'm going to respond right here, right now. Let's get started. The first one comes out of Connecticut, and it's titled, "My boss tried to pressure me out of making an incident report." She says, "I, a 17F, got slammed by a pallet while unloading a truck for the first time, which led to my first incident report, which went fine. A few months later, though, someone accidentally ran my foot over with a pallet jack while we were unloading trucks. My trainer told me to go make an incident report with my supervisor. My supervisor told me to go sit for 20 minutes to see if I feel better and remember that each incident report cost them $10,000. And I'm already at my second one, so to think about whether or not I want to make the report. I made the report and then I was sent back to work because the nurse on the phone didn't specify whether or not I should. A week later, my supervisor had another manager tell me I was not allowed to unload trucks anymore until they felt I was capable. Isn't this against OSHA? Are they taking advantage of me because I'm young? Please give me advice." Well, here's the advice for you. So, a couple things. This is more of a environmental health and safety question. For one, HR has, some involvement in safety. Of course, we all do to a degree. But beyond that, so we'll start off with the fact that incident reports do not cost them $10,000. Now, there may be some sort of internal company policy that seeks to curb reports on the behalf of, or on the, from like a regional satellite office or something like that. But 10,000 incident reports don't cost $10,000. But the long and short of it is that an employee shouldn't be discouraging you from making the reports. And OSHA has taken a fairly firm stand on this. I often think about the fact that OSHA actually doesn't particularly like safety awards for individual employees, depending on the nature, because there's a concern that it may persuade people not to report. So OSHA wants you to report, and being discouraged from reporting is absolutely uh, against what OSHA is looking for. It's not against OSHA, but you know, their idea that you're not allowed to unload trucks until you felt that you were capable. I think it's not the worst idea. It's not against OSHA, so to speak. Punishing someone for reporting is, and if this is a punishment that will cost you your your career or money or anything like that, then absolutely, I think that you have a big concern with respect to OSHA in this regard. However, it's not explicitly against OSHA to simply, wait until you've already had until you're ready. I think they should be training you to get you ready to unload trucks further, and that's kind of what it sounds like it's seeming to be here, but I'm not 100% certain. I would note that having two accidents in a couple months does seem a bit much, especially from the employer's perspective. I would more just seek to sort of walk this through. I think and sort of sit back and watch the employer a bit more. It's very unlikely that they are, expressly violating anything, but I don't think it's a good idea either. I think The important thing is to retrain you, get you back to work. I would wait until they penalize you in the form of money or or hours or promotions before I would really seek to report this to OSHA. And then I would make sure that I'm paying attention going forward and making sure that I understand the safety rules and regulations. Um, Safety isn't, there's no accident in being safe. It comes through diligent planning and making sure that we're paying attention. Question two comes in from Illinois, and the question is, I need to request FMLA. How do I, and can my employer deny it? It's a private company, few hundred employees. They offer benefits, and FMLA is included. I need to request 2 to 3 weeks of FMLA time off. Work has caused me incapacitating stress and anxiety. I see a psychologist and can probably get proper documentation from him if needed. My question is, can it be denied? What's the best way to go about requesting it and getting it? I seriously need it. I don't want to lose the job. I just need a 2 to 3 week break to get my bearings back. Should I go straight to HR and request paperwork, see my doctor? How do I do about it? Sick. I've never navigated this terrain and I'm seeking advice on how to request FMLA successfully. Please and thanks in advance. It's a stressful, toxic situation at work. I feel for you in Illinois. It's rough, but let's answer a few questions today. So the first question is the title, which is I need to request FMLA. How do I and can my employer deny it? So, generally speaking, FMLA does go straight to the Human Resources Office. Sometimes supervisors and managers are authorized to refer employees if they're properly trained, but for the most part, it requires seeing your local human resources person. Can my employer deny it is a much broader question. So let's go on and dig through this. So first off, it says it's a private company, few hundred employees, and they offer benefits, and FMLA is included. So, uh, first off, the most important thing to answer here, which is not addressed, is the amount of time that this person has been there. So you have to work for the company with or with the temp agency within the company for at least a year and have at least 1,250 hours, which means you have to have a bit more than half a year worth of hours in, and so that's pretty important. You qualify because you have enough employees. Um, and assuming that that is within the radius in the state of Illinois or in your area, assuming the few hundred employees are. FMLA is actually not a benefit. It's the Family and Medical Leave Act of 1993, and it's a law. It's not a benefit. It's just a function of being American, working for a big enough company, and working there long enough. Um, Regardless, um, so yes, there's a couple things here too. So if work is causing incapacitating stress and anxiety, it may be a candidate for workers' comp. That's a sort of a tricky thing. Workers' comp and FMLA do operate in conjunction, so it's not exclusionary. But there's a chance that the person, when going to the doctor and having sort of incapacitation as a result of work, that doctor, in theory, should refer them to workers' comp and deny see or stop seeing them further, so that the employer can manage it. I I I tend to think that obviously that's not a normal thing, but that is technically a workers' comp. It could be a workers' comp issue, um, and so it actually needs to be handled through that channels as well as FMLA. Um, The next kind of statement says it can get proper documentation from him if needed. That proper documentation is the FMLA paperwork that the Human Resources Department should give him. So it's not a doctor's note or something. FMLA is not triggered by a doctor's note. It's triggered by paperwork that is given from HR to the employee or directly to the doctor. Sometimes I think. Um, but given to the employee in order to have the doctor fill out. It's about 4 pages of paperwork that the doctor has to fill out, and then I would say roughly another 7 to 10, depending on the sort of level that your employer takes it to. Some employers will give you a packet that's dang near a book. Um, it can be denied. It's unlikely in this scenario, but absolutely, FMLA can be denied, depending on the nature of it. I once, FMLA, of course, applies to the employees' families, and the family member, the child had lice, and the employee wanted to take off to care for the person's life or lice and get it managed. And after working with our legal counsel, we denied it. So it absolutely can be denied. Will it be denied here? No. It's very unlikely that it'll be denied. Um, but you're to go to see human resources, talk through the FMLA request. You don't need to give a lot of details. This post has a lot more details than probably ever needs to be included in this discussion, um, especially with HR. But I do think that you ask for FMLA, get it from or get the paperwork from HR, and then hand it in to your doctor or psychologist and see where we go from there. I think that's an absolute great way to answer this and a great way to solve it. Woo! This is going to be a long video today. This is probably going to be my longest video thus far in my YouTubing career. But this one cracked me up. It's wild. It's out of New York. It says office argument over terminology. The terminology flex employee appears to originate in EU. I assume European Union here. An employee given a specific block of time, specific days they may come in, can't be terminated for attendance alone. It sounds as if they come and go as they please. I couldn't find a definitive US or NY state legislation on it, and only up 22 upstate New York court cases referencing flex employee, resulting in all but one receiving unemployment benefits. Question: what is a flex employee in New York? Thanks in advance. So then the OP goes on and someone tells him, hey, this term doesn't exist. He says, I suspect it as such. The employer seems to be taking on call or call in definitions, adding a few more elements without giving the flex employee state and federal mandated benefits. It appeared 100% responding on call gets certain benefits, such as 40-hour pay or more, whether they do it or not. And FLSA, if employer plans on employees' day off, it claimed 14 days in advance. If I'm reading the right thing appropriately, it sounds like a class action waiting to happen. The OP continues and he says, yes, no such thing as flex employee is my argument with HR. They, my HR, are absolutely hell bent into titling something not consistent with current legal standards to dance around other state and or federal obligations for other titles. I'm so against it that I informed HR that if they call me a flex employee again, I will act like a European Union flex employee. And as I stated, I'm in New York. I'm against the term absolutely. So there's a lot of things to understand here. First off, don't argue with stuff like this with HR professionals. It's a silly nonsense argument. So a couple things. There aren't legal definitions with respect to titles. Now, there is consideration between whether or not someone is part-time and full-time, which happens and is the basis for Obamacare, right? So the Affordable Care Act defines who should receive health insurance benefits as a result, and that does exist. But beyond health insurance, that's it's really titles aren't that important. Legally speaking, they can call you. I used to work at a place that had an employee called the Kill Commander for various reasons, and so they can title you whatever they want. It really doesn't matter as long as they pay you correctly, give you health insurance when you are, entitled to it. But other than that, they can call you literally whatever they want. Stop arguing with us. Um, there aren't benefits. And so, it's such a silly argument. Um, he talks about being on call, which I get. But then, seems to swerve off. He's really looking to pick a fight. Um, he talks about state and federal mandated benefits. There really isn't any, you could be on call, out of call, call in, etc. Doesn't really matter. No one could care less. FLSA matters, OT matters, right? But regardless of what they call you, as long as they're, you know, they could call you the kill commander. Doesn't matter. It's not a class action waiting to happen as long as they follow the law. As long as they, again, pay you overtime after 40 hours, as long as they get you your benefits as if you're part-time, whatever. As long as they pay you your hours, they can call you literally anything. It's not a class action. It's just the nature of things. Going to your employer and saying that you're going to act like a European Union flex employee is nonsense, doesn't matter, and it's absolutely absurd. So eh, it's a little crazy. There's no current quote unquote current legal standards at all. Not with respect to, like I said, not as long as they're paying you enough and paying you what you're supposed to be, they can tell you anything you want. It doesn't matter. So, these sort of, I don't know, sea lawyers, as I used to have a general manager call them, are really frustrating in HR. People don't really know their rights, and that's sort of why I'm here. It is why I'm here. I want you to know your rights. I want you to know what you have, what you don't have, and act accordingly. And this guy is just acting like a jackass. Don't be this guy. Work with human resources, do a lot more research. This guy, it clearly doesn't understand what he's talking about and wants to be a jackass. If you like more of these, I'm like I said, I'm banned from Reddit. So this is my only way of responding. I enjoy this. And if you like more, like, share, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next video. Adios, guys.